time so we can,
do that. I shall do that.
Is it stormy down there, or is it good weather?
It was this morning, but it's all good now.
Yeah, it's looking a little ominous right now.
But you know what? I wasn't hating it.
I'm really conflicted because I like it because it gives me an excuse to be lazy and not feel bad about it. But
Yeah.
also, I would like to enjoy some sunshine for a little bit. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I understand. But then I keep going back to we've got to have a lot of sunshine.
Yes, and it's going to get really, really hot.
Yeah.
When Drake was just up here, he was saying I think Saturday is an Arsenal Newcastle game. Is it Saturday, Sunday?
One of those 2.
Yeah. He was just like, I'm gonna have to stay in touch with Ellen to like keep up with what's going on.
Okay. Yeah. I'm over Arsenal. I'm wearing their shirt today.
I think that's what made me think of it. Yeah.
Okay. But season's over. Let's take a summer break and then let's get to the new season. I'm over it. I love them though, but I'm over it.
Ready to move on.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a Liverpool supporter, right?
I mean, yes. Newcastle though is his his team, but yeah, Liverpool's definitely. And then there's like the third one that he's his other one, but yeah.
Okay. I don't think we ever talked about Newcastle. That's why I was like, Newcastle. Oh, so he wants to shit talk me.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair. They'll win. So I'm already accepting defeat. But okay. Sure.
He's a pretty humble person.
One of us has to be. Okay, are you ready for this hacks review?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I really am.
Okay.
Are you watching this? You need to get with it. Are you watching this? We on a TV shit. Are you watching this? You don't wanna miss. Are you watching this? Stop canceling our shit.
Hey everybody. Welcome to the Are You Watching This podcast, the podcast where we talk about TV shows you should be watching. I'm one of your hosts, Ellen.
And I'm Chelsea.
And we are about to review Hack Season 4, Episode 4. Yeah, okay. So, jumping right into it, the scene opens and it's very artsy. We are basically going through sequences of scenes of writer's room prep, set prep, hairstyle prep. They're setting the scene for the series, like the show, Deborah's talk show premiere. And then after all those sequences, we see Deborah go on stage and she gives her first episode opening monologue. And she freezes as she's giving her monologue at the particular, like the words second act. And when she freezes, she leaves the stage. And at first I was like, oh no, is this live? Because you really don't get to see that it's actually a dress rehearsal until she is backstage. And everyone comes crowding round to her. So then so then she's backstage. Everyone is around her, Jimmy, like everybody, Ava, everybody. And she thinks she's having a heart attack. And the on-site medic is like, no, it's just a panic attack, which that's what Ava actually says that she thinks she's actually having. And this is also the scene where we learn it's actually a dress rehearsal. So everyone's pretty calm about her messing up. Well, not messing up, but having this panic attack. Then we go, do you have anything about the scene where you're like shocked at all?
It wasn't until the second watch that the dress rehearsal part made sense. Because the first time around, I did at the end understand that it was a dress rehearsal. The way they presented the information, I was a little confused though when it was first happening. I was like, is this the first recording? What's going on?
Yeah.
The other thing that I really noted was in the opening montage of like everybody getting ready, Deborah, Ava, all the rest of the staff, the scene where they're doing the trust fall and Deborah's like standing behind Ava and just walks away. That one really got me. Yeah, big time.
It got me too. Even if I was really, really pissed at somebody, I don't think I could not cash in.
No, that's
Yeah.
mean. That's just
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. Jeffers got a, gosh, she's got a side to her.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go from there to, I think Deborah's in her dressing room, and Ava goes in to kind of just check in on her and empathize about the panic attack situation, being like, that's happened to me before. Deborah is still very defensive about like what made her freeze. And also, like, she goes as far as blaming Ava's writing material, which, anyways. Then Jimmy walks in. Oh, I think we're in the scene shifts to Deborah at a dress fitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy walks in during the dress fitting and tells Deborah that dinner reservations were made for after the premiere of the show. And Deborah's like, no, she's actually going to do dinner with the guest of the show and Winnie, who's, I'm thinking she's the head of the head of the network. She's head of something.
Yeah, because Bob is the head of the network, or maybe
Yeah.
he's like the head, and
Yeah.
she's whatever would
Right
be below him.
underneath.
So I don't know
Yeah.
studio, which I guess network would be head, and then so I think she's the head of the studio. I think he's the head of the network.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after that, Winnie comes in and says she made Deborah. No, wait, is that? Oh, yeah. Winnie comes in to check on Deb regarding her panic attack and tells Deborah she's made her a reservation with a cardiologist. And Deborah's like, all right, cool, thanks. Then the next scene, we see Deborah at the cardiologist and she sees Carol Burnett. And this, okay, so, well, I watched this with up to season 6 coming out, so I just watched 4, 5, 6 all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was this particular episode or maybe just like that run of episodes, but there were a lot of heavy comedic, legendary comedic guest stars, which I loved. It was really cute. But we see Carol Burnett, and Deborah views her as like it's like her Beyonce. And then she asks Carol if she's ever had stage fright, and Carol is like, sometimes. And Deborah's like, well, I've actually never had stage fright. Which, do you suffer from stage fright?
Well, I kind of have the same thing for you, because what happens is Deborah's asking her, and Carol says yes, and she says that when she did suffer from it, what she found works the best is to focus on one person in the audience. And the question I had for you is, do you find this works? Because I do get stage fright to some extent, and I don't know if I find staring at one particular person helpful. I mean, I do find that helpful to some level, but it doesn't cure all of the stage fright.
Yeah, I agree. They also mentioned the picturing the audience naked bit, which I've never been able to do. I don't think my mind wants to do it, so it's just never done it. But I have done the one person thing, and I do think it helps. It depends on the person, obviously, but I do think it helps.
When I was defending my master's thesis, or we had to do like a test run to the whole group, our whole study group, or like graduating class, whatever. And my roommate at the time, Julia, she was so sweet. She was sitting in the front row, just like so intent. And I was looking at her, and she had, I guess, eaten a chocolate bar and just had this like, I mean, just huge comedic level of chocolate on her face. And so I did just stare at her, and it really did make me feel better.
Oh, I love that. And like, she was not aware at all.
Oh no, she was just sitting there, just eyes wide, just smiling, nodding at everything I said.
Yeah, that's so cute. Okay, so yes, after that beautiful scene of Deborah kind of trying to figure out where her stage freeze came from, because I don't think it was fright, came from by talking to Carol, we then go, I guess they're back in the studio.
Yes, two things on that. One is I liked when Deborah was in her dress fitting and Jimmy comes in and Deborah's complaining about her armpits looking too long.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy just goes, "You have beautiful armpits." And I love just this 3 or 5 second little exchange between these characters. One, the tidbit that Deborah would be insecure or like noticing her armpits. Like
Yes.
that, because that is something people think about, but nobody
Yeah.
else is caring about
Worried
that.
about, yeah.
But then the fact that it was second nature for Jimmy to like reassure his client, like, no, your armpit's beautiful. He didn't even think about it.
Yeah. I
I
love
love
Jimmy
it.
so
Was
much.
just such a nice little interaction between the two of them.
Yeah.
So you asked me if I get stage fright. Do you get stage fright?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely. I've gotten better with age,
Mm-hmm.
but when I was little, and for me it's sweat. I just sweat profusely.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, it's so bad. But yeah. But you said you do sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean it definitely depends too. If it's something that I feel really, really comfortable, like secure in doing, like I'm like excited to show some people about something,
Yeah.
less so in those moments. But
Yeah. I'd
yeah.
like to see the stats on Leos and stage fright. I feel like it's very low.
I mean it's there. I've
It's
told
definitely there, but I feel like,
I feel like I want to throw up every time and I'm standing in front of more than 20 people.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's good to know. Good to know. So then from there, they're back in the studio, and Ava runs into Deborah and invites her to the bar after the show because she tells her she's taking the writers there. And Deborah is still cold, still very much like, no. So yeah. Then we go to the day, the night. Is this all like in the beginning? Is the dress rehearsal, you think, in the morning?
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So later that day, then, the real taping happens, right?
No, I guess it's 2 days
Yeah,
later
yeah,
because
yeah.
in
The
the
real taping
intro.
starts to happen. Josephina and Ava interact. Josephina runs into Ava. They have a really cute moment because they haven't seen each other since, I believe, Ava was living with them in
Mm-hmm.
Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And Josephina's like, come over for dinner. Ava's like, I don't think your boss wants me there. Oh, wait, Josefina. Why am I pronouncing her name? Have I been saying Josefina? Anyways, Josefina. It's
Mm-hmm.
Josefina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just Josefina, okay. And Josefina is like, well, Deb is Deb. Totally gets it. She's very sweet. I love Josefina too. Then I wrote, we get to see Kayla. Oh, Kayla then is in the back and she's like being mean to assert their importance as like agents to both the talent and the head writer. And I wrote, she says she's in half gorilla mode. And I'm just like, where do they come up with these terms? And she's talking to Jim because Jimmy's like, yo, chill. And then while they're back there, Ava stops by as Jimmy and Kaylin interacting. And then Jimmy invites Ava to dinner. It's just a lot of people basically be like, hey, I made these plans. I made these plans. Everyone else has made their own plans. Ava tells Jimmy she can't go to dinner because she's taking the writers out. And then in this whole interaction, the Jimmy responds like, yeah, scribes need to stick together, writers, whatever, need to be together. And then they made, I don't know, some sort of reference. I honestly didn't get the reference. Neither did Kayla. And then Jimmy told us both to read women.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get the reference?
No.
Okay. Good.
No. I did get the reference of the fact that I should read more women because I didn't understand the reference. I got that part. I got that part twice.
But we've already discovered that we hate women on this podcast.
Yeah.
So it tracks. So then after that, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm skimming through this. So after that, we finally get to the scene of premiere of the show. Deb goes out, and it's a whole sequence. It's like a muffled. They muffle like the sound engineering, and this is really cool. They muffle like the outside noise and people coming in. We focus on Deborah's heartbeat. And then they make a little joke because her mic is like placed near her heart, but it's still very loud. Anyways, then Deborah walks out. Again, very cool sound engineering happening. When she walks out, the audience is muffled. We hear the applause. There's cool camera work as it goes like behind Deborah for us to see her perspective, I guess. And then Deborah gives her opening monologue. And as she's doing it, I am nervous. Are you nervous? Did you think she was going to freeze again?
Yes, but I knew she wasn't going to fail or flub like she did the first time. I knew they were going to do like the
focus.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Then Deborah does freeze again at the same word, second act. And then she takes a breath and focuses in on Ava. And we see that then she is just the only one in the studio. They give us that imagery. And Deborah gets through that line and gets through her opening monologue. And it's just like, what a toxic relationship. I was trying to find a better word for it.
I thought you were going to say what a sweet moment.
Oh.
Because like they both have worked so hard to get there, and they've achieved it, and it went well.
Yes, but prior to all this, Deborah's been such a meanie, such a dick.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think that I loved, though, the acknowledgement, like them looking at each other, and that was what she was focusing on.
Yeah.
It did remind me, though, that, you know, the whole point of the last episode was for them to write the opening sketch for the first episode, and we didn't find out what it was, and I'm very mad about that currently.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, they should have at least given us that.
Just even like if it was like a scan to what the audience was watching, you know, even like for 5 seconds. If they went with a prison bit, I don't know. I just giving us something.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah,
so. They go through, she gets through their line. We then get to a bit in the show where Deborah is doing this musical bit with Randy Newman, singing about LA, loving LA. I think I love LA or something about LA. And then after the show, she's like, hey, Randy, I made these dinner reservations. Randy Newman says that he can't go because he doesn't like anyone watching him eat. And I was like, was this like a bit, or is this just like a fun fact that we find out?
There's so many of these weird, very oddly hyper-specific lines in these episodes, like the one about George Clooney and the pranks and him being sick. I'm like, this has to be something beyond just a random joke.
Right? Yeah. Because I also feel like, and this is happening a lot this season, I feel like, compared to other seasons. They are bringing up real people, real like actors and celebrities, and making up these things about them or not. But they're not light-hearted things. It's kind of disparaging in a way too. So I don't know. I don't know. And I feel like you need to be in Hollywood to know.
And it's interesting too, though, because some of the jokes about other actors or like, you know, celebrities are made without them there. But then we also get like the studio, some like self-referential cameos. Like, we, you know, later, I think not this episode, but in the next episode, we get Jimmy Kimmel or maybe it is this. No, maybe it is this. Okay, it's the next one. Yeah. And so it's just like, I don't know. It's what's real, what's not.
Yeah, but I feel like the studio, it's an obvious play. Like it's an obvious, you know, everyone's in on the joke.
That's kind of the whole point.
Yeah, exactly. With this one, it's I don't know.
It's harder to tell.
Yeah. I did write down that the next guest We're gonna be Shabuzi and Nancy Pelosi, which what a combo. I loved it. It's very late night.
I could see, yes, 100%. I was like, oh, I could see that on Colbert next week. I could see that on
Yes.
SNL. Like,
Yes.
that's
It
would not
was
be
great.
surprising.
Yeah. So then after that, the show is done. One of the writers comes to Ava to be like, hey, you ready to go? Ava kind of lingers, wanting to talk to Deborah. I'm calling her Deborah.
Debbie.
Deb, at the very least. I'm gonna call her Deb. But Deb's busy doing some, what is it called? What do they call it? I don't know.
Like promos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Promotional. Yeah.
That's I was gonna add something here. Oh, like as you were saying before, when Deborah does focus in on Ava, when she has that freeze moment in the opening monologue, and then they do have that moment of like, we did it. Like this is our moment. Like it really is their journey together getting here. Then after the show, with Ava waiting behind, to wanting to speak to Deborah, that was like another hint of, I don't know, kind of acknowledging that they like finished their first episode, like the premiere show, like episode. But anyways, Ava ends up going to the bar without talking to Deborah and with the writers. And at the bar, we see that the writers are exhausted. Ava's trying to celebrate, and they're not, they're trying their best to stay alive. Have you ever had those moments, like, where everyone, and you're like, God, please send me home. How can you guys not see? I do not want, it's not like I just physically cannot be here.
It's like, if you could muster the strength, if only you have two options. God can either just magically give you the strength or just send you home. Those are your two options.
Yeah. So and then they have this bit where one writer is like falling asleep, has fallen asleep, and wakes up. So then Ava thankfully reads the room and sends the writers home to rest, to get some rest, because there are, I can't remember how many shows left.
Yeah, it was like 180 or something, 86,
Yeah.
56, something like that.
Yeah. Which like really put it in perspective. Like late night TV shows are like those kind of situations. They're no easy feat.
No, they're really not. You're working, I mean, I think that they take Fridays off, so they're working 4 days a week, probably still 5 days. I'm sure the Friday or the extra day is not off. I'm sure they still have to like do
something. Yeah.
Prep for the next week or whatever. And then, they get the 2 months off in the summer, 3 months off, but really by the time that you wrap everything up, you probably get 3-4 weeks max, and then right back at it.
Right. It is, you've got to have definitely some stamina for that kind of, specific lane, which hats off, like, SNL and all that seems so fun, but yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I've thought about that. I mean, I know that technically late night's not filmed at night. It's filmed at like, at 4:30, 4 o'clock. So when I replaced Jimmy Fallon, I can handle that part. But in general, that lifestyle does require nighttime activities. And I really like to be in bed by 8 o'clock. So. Or like in pajamas, like to be laying down, sitting down by 8. So
yeah. Which is actually weird that they had these old dudes on. Well, they had these old dudes on. I feel like now both Jimmy Kimmel and Fallon are young and stuff, and even Seth. But back when they had, I don't know, Letterman and
Carson.
Yes, and all them, they were old. So it's like, how did they keep up with the lifestyle? Honestly,
probably cocaine.
Yeah,
I think we're really coming back to just cocaine's the answer to a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking it. I'm glad you said it. It's out there. Then we go to the scene. So Ava sends everybody home. We go to the scene. Deb is at the restaurant, and Winnie calls to cancel that she won't be able to make it. Something about her daughter. And then Deborah calls her new assistant, right? Which I don't know his name. Do you know his name?
I think it's Damien.
Damien. I think
And
that's
I wrote it down. I think that's what she called him later in the episode.
okay. Yeah. Calls her assistant Damien to join her. Then we cut back to Ava leaving the bar, and she goes over to her car and she finds that her car is being towed because she parked in an adult shop parking lot, and she did not go in there. So the tow guy was like, you weren't allowed to park here. She was
Customers
like,
only.
She was like, I am a customer. I was just leaving to go inside to get something. So then she runs inside and asks this couple to if like they don't mind if she cuts so she can buy something quickly so she can get a receipt and show the tow guy that she actually did park as a customer. And we have this whole bit as she's buying something, a whole lube dildo bit takes place, which I feel like just will always be funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always going to be a running gag of TV shows.
Yeah, especially when like a bisexual, lesbian leaning person, whatever, says it. She buys a dildo and the lube that she is pushed to get. And she goes outside and finds her car ended up being towed anyway. As she's buying the dildo and stuff, the guy is like, no return. Like, there's a no return policy. Which, very fair,
There shouldn't
Absolutely.
be returns. Let's just... Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So she goes back inside to return it, and the guy's like, I just told you, no return policy. And Ava's like, I think I just went to the parking lot and used it real quick and came back. And the guy's like, well, you never know. Which, again, very fair.
He said, it's happened. And I'm like, I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
People are crazy. So
Really
I won't put it past them. And then as she's having this interaction with the sale guy, she's like, whatever, can I charge my phone to call an Uber, right? And the couple in the line that she cut offered to take her to the impound lot to get her car. And Deb was like, all right. Ava's like, all right, cool. Then we cut back to Deborah in the restaurant with her assistant. And they're having the most awkward boss employee dinner ever. Like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
He mentions at the end of the dinner that like he's never had alcohol before, and we watch him drink multiple drinks like at dinner. Shaking.
Yeah. Just like feeling like but feeling like he has to do this.
Yeah.
And Deborah really does cross so many lines, with employee and employer. But anyways, she asks him if he's enjoying LA, and he says it's different being an LA gay.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you've been to LA before? And he was like, well, I was visiting LA. I was a visiting LA gay, but now I am an LA gay. And there's this whole thing that happens that I was very... What was I? I was very... I was very intrigued to learn about.
I think it's one of those things that if you it's for me, at least I'll say this. I as a cis white lady who has lived solely in the South, this is a lifestyle that I know a lot more about. And I was like, I understand you, Damien. I've heard the same thing despite never experiencing it. But like it's a trope, it's a thing that you hear about a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
That I think is very true.
Yeah, because we've heard it so many times that there has to be a little bit of truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that trope being that LA gays are like fit and muscular, and he feels like it's hard to compete because he is not as jacked.
And he says he's gotten all of his hair removed too. So.
Yeah.
Which that line really did make me think too. I definitely am not against any kind of plastic surgery or anything, and I have tattoos, but permanent is permanent, and so to think like he's like, oh, I got all my hair permanently removed. That's different than waxing, because waxing it'll eventually grow back.
Yeah.
Now that it's back in fashion, so I'm like, okay, I need to remember, can't retake. So it'll come back in style.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, permanent is permanent. But to be fair, I've had laser hair removal on my armpits.
Mm-hmm.
And it does like for women, hormonal things happen with us a lot, so that can help it, not help it, but that helps trigger it to come back a little bit, but it doesn't grow back to the full extent.
Yeah, it usually will come back to some extent.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, for men, I wonder how that, because they don't have that same hormone. Why can't I say the word cycle as we do? So I wonder how. Yeah. Anyways. From there, yeah, and then in this dinner, he reveals he's never had alcohol before, and then you do see Deborah like kind of be like, "Shit, I've crossed another line," kind of like.
She's like, "Wait, I don't know this guy. Who did I hire?"
Yeah. They're in the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he asks if they can stop at a gay club. And Deborah's like, sure, why not? Then we go back to Ava. And Ava gets dropped off by the couple. And as she is leaving, they ask for her number. She's like, which one is asking? She's so weird. And yeah, they offer her a throuple situation to be a third. And she takes it. I wrote, this is gonna make her even more insufferable.
She talks about it. I was just thinking about this. She talks about it as much as she talks about now being allergic to shrimp.
Yes. It's like these little like things she tries to make her personality, which is very Ava. Then at the club with Deb and Damien, we see a bunch of fun things happening, and Deb ends up getting in a cage, gets offered some, what did she get offered?
Poppers,
which I have never done.
Well, that was one of my questions. Have you ever done poppers? And that answers that.
Done a few things, but not poppers. And Deb ends up falling and hitting her head. Also, though, the sound that they in the engineering that they used for her headbang was so intense. I was like, damn, did she crack her head open? That's crazy.
It looks like there should have at least been some blood involved.
Yeah. So then from there, we cut to Ava. She's driving. She gets a call from the hospital. She's thinking it's the couple she just left. She answers the phone, but no, it's a nurse still letting her know that Deborah's in the hospital. And Ava skirts that car and goes rushing to Deb at the hospital. She runs in, and Deborah's like, what are you doing here? You know, they have this little bit about, oh, you didn't remove me as your emergency contact. And Deborah asks for the time, realizes it's like 11 something, realizes her show is about to start, and her TV in the room she's in isn't working. So then Ava's like, can you walk? Can you get up? Deb's like, okay. And then we see them go to the waiting room, sit down next to each other. Ava turns on changes the channel on the TV to their show. They sit down together and they watch. And this is a really sweet moment. This is very sweet. This I did not think was toxic. And then they have a funny moment with a guy who worships the devil.
Yes, as the devil lives inside of him.
Yes, yeah. Which, you know, in any comedy, I feel like there needs to be something to just lighten those sweet, serious moments.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that episode.
I loved the scene where Ava's answering the phone in her car, and she was like, is this Emily, who I met at the sex shop? Just couldn't, like, that just was the delivery was so funny.
So funny.
The contrast to who was actually, it was just good comedy. Just good comedy.
Yeah. Hannah is very good in that role. Very good in that role. And again, I'm shocked her own stand-up material or stuff isn't talked about as much.
Well, and when you'd asked me about her stand-up special, that reminded me, and I was thinking, oh, she must be a comedian. But then when I looked her up, like when online it says that she's an actress, like that is her, and she hasn't written on the show, so she's not a writer, which is I'm very surprised by that. But then that would make sense of why her stand-up probably is not talked about, because I don't really think it's stand-up.
Okay.
As a
Okay.
word
That
to
makes
describe,
so much sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because a lot of comedians who end up in shows also do write. So, yeah.
But she doesn't, so I think that's part of it.
Yeah. Well, she should keep acting because she is in her bag when she does this.
Yeah, and I don't want to be this person, but I think it's true. And sometimes we just need to stay in our lane. And
Yeah.
I think that maybe that's where she needs to stay right now too.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Phineas, we need to stay with one thing and focus on that, and not try to force ourselves upon other people. It's called consent.
Oh God. But you know what? I think people who are comedians who go into acting or musicians who go into acting, I feel like that's the easiest thing to go into as other thing. If you're one thing to try like dabble in, acting is a safe bet because I think the range of like how good acting it is so vast and yet so acceptable. Like I think a lot of people accept shit acting. So even if you are a musician going into acting and you're shit, it's still allowed. And you'll still get those views. But if you're an actor going to be a musician, you have to have some, like you have to be good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I explained that in a very long way, but hopefully people understand.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there's more leeway with musicians going to acting than vice versa.
Yeah. Or like even comedians, like not every actor can be a comedian,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. Or dancers or So definitely a certain skill you gotta, like the other things are more maybe technical in a way that acting, I'm sure acting is, but
It feels a lot more approachable.
Yeah, for real. And again, like I think we are also fed a lot of movies and TV shows with subpar acting, and we accept it anyway. So it's okay.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems specific, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, there's been a couple things lately that I'm just like, oh boy, if this is our level like, if this is the level of expectations that we're setting, that we're studios are investing large sums of money into these projects that are so subpar.
Yeah.
It's very concerning.
I agree.
Very concerning.
I agree. To the point where I do watch something like Hacks and the acting that takes place, or even like, as you said, Hannah answering the phone call, or what was it earlier? I don't know, just, like Jimmy going in as Deborah's getting dressed and like being like, your armpits, like those little bits, we're so impressed by them because we don't get that kind of attention to detail in the acting and the writing anymore. So when it does happen, we're like, oh my God, what, like, amazing.
It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things too that's so hard. I'm a very firm believer in that if you are really, really good at your job, nobody will ever notice how good you are at your job. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you're bad at your job, people will notice, right, the flaws. And so it's when you do such a good job, like these jokes, they get kind of unappreciated though, because you're just laughing hard. You're like, damn, that's a good joke. And you don't stop to think, oh, I love that joke so much because everything else I watch is so bad.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry to all the writers.
I agree. Good thing is, though, now that there is a lot of bad shit, we do appreciate the good shit.
Some of us, at least.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
That episode also was dedicated to the victims and the first responders of the LA wildfires, which ties back to Randy Newman singing that song.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that's it. That's episode 4 of
Loved
Hat
it.
season 4. I did too. But yeah, anything more to add?
No, this is a good episode.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you next week when we review episode 5, season 4, episode 5. See ya.
Bye.